Hey, everybody. Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, keep your eyes on the trees because we're talking about that dang Predator monster. And of course, I got some new comics to show you guys. But first, we got to talk about this. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. We got a fun show for you tonight. Of course, we're going to be talking about new comics that came out this week, but we've also going to be definitely talking about the new Predator movie called Prey, which is on Hulu right now, and it is amazing. We're definitely going to do a deep dive on that one there. So we'll talk about all that. So, how are you guys? Hope you all are having a good week so far. I know in this area there's a lot of schools. They're back to school officially this week, so hope everybody had a good back to school week. And if you haven't, if you're still enjoying your summer, enjoy what's left. Oh, let's see who's on the chat with us so far. Marianne, good to see you. All right, and the art chemist, good to see you too. Oh, you chiming in already saying Prey was good. All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that later on here. But yeah, so lots of good things to talk about. Of course, I know a lot of people talk about the Sandman series that's on Netflix. I have not got to watch that yet. I will go into that one. Don't worry. But yeah, it's been getting some very good reviews. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Of course, we got She-Hulk coming up here in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, we have I think a week or two. Anyway, no, it is next week. Good Lord. I don't even know what date it is right now. But yeah, She-Hulk's coming up next week. So I'm looking very forward to that. And then we got Andor starting up at the end of the month. So yeah, lots of things to look forward to coming up here. But yeah, definitely want to get into some comics here this week because I got a lot of cool stuff to show you guys here. And of course, on the Fanatic Forum, normally I show you guys like just a selection of my books each week, but don't actually show you like everything I get. Like this is kind of an average stack for me on a week. This is 16 books right here. So yeah, this is about the average for me. So I don't show you guys everything because of course, that'd be that'd be a pretty long show. But I like to share some of the best of, so to speak here. So definitely want to show off a couple of independents here. I've been loving this book here. 8 Billion Genies, issue 4 just came out this week. This is a hot ticket book, folks. Issues are hard to come by because they sell out really quickly. So if you're interested in this book, please pre-order them from your local comic book shop. You can do that with this book and any other book that is published. Just each store has their own different methods. Some have different apps you can order things on. Some just want to give you, an old school list and you write what you want down here. But yeah, this has been a really fun book here from Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. Great concept with basically everybody getting a genie. We get some big developments in this issue here to kind of really further the story along. So yeah, loving here. So we're halfway through the series now. So yeah, some big developments going on here. You kind of you learn some truths about a certain character. It's kind of been through been with us the whole time here. So really cool stuff and kind of where things go from here. We've kind of been dealing with very small increments of time in these first few issues. Like the first 8 seconds, first 8 minutes, first 8 hours. This all happens, and now we're starting to get into like days and weeks. So yeah, let's see how much the world changes and how much the world's population is left, because that's a problem for sure. Let's see, you got a couple of other comments on here. Oh, hey, Dave's comment. Nice shirt that really shakes the pillars of heaven. Yes. I love Big Trouble in Little China. So to get a Dragons of the Black Pool shirt here, yeah, So T Public for anyone curious there. So hey, Art Chemist likes it too. Well, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, T Public is where it's at when it comes to find some really original stuff for shirts and whatnot. So I like to find some cool references or I love minimalist designs of things. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. Next indie I want to show you guys Starhenge issue 2 here. This is coming from Image Comics. The great Liam Sharp is behind this one with both the art and the writing. A really out there concept, some very high concept sci-fi and fantasy going on in this book here. Don't want to give too much away because again, a really fun concept, uh, but just some really trippy, just wonderful art. So I highly recommend picking that one up there. Especially if you like your weird sci-fi books too. You want something that's got a little meat on its bones, a little thought provoking, a little headiness there. So yeah, this is the book for you folks. This is the smart kids book here. All right, let's see. From DC, got a couple of selections here. Issue 4 of Jurassic League. I've been absolutely loving this miniseries here, and we're getting close to the end. We've only got 2 issues left. But Daniel Warren Johnson's been the creative on this one here. And this basically is just reimagining the Justice League and classic villains as dinosaurs. That's it. There's not like, they're going to turn back and normal humans. No, this is basically kind of a what if these dinosaurs were slightly humanoid and some had superpowers. There you go. Well, we found out who the big bad is in this one here. And of course, if you're very familiar with your DC comics there's really one kind of go-to big bad. And that's the man from, a little planet called Apocalypse. So, I think you know what I'm talking about there. But you get to see him in a dinosaur form. So, so there's your big bad there that this ragtag band of dinosaur misfits are going to have to try to form against to destroy. So, pretty fun stuff there. It's a nice little flip on the concept because you still have some like Neanderthal humans running around. So Superman still has his adopted parents. They're just Neanderthals. Let's see here. Last but not least, from DC here, the third and final chapter of the Deceased trilogy here. This is War of the Undead Gods. So, basically the anti-life equation reached Earth and basically kind of act like a zombie plague, essentially. But it's not a zombie plague. You actually can be cured from it. We found out at the end of the second series. So we're starting to see some of the positive repercussions of that. A lot of faces returning who we once thought were gone. But the big problem is that, New Genesis and all the new gods, they all turn too. And, well, they're coming for Earth. So we got a big fight in our hands here. But I just again, I DC really does this more so than Marvel does. But DC really loves like these sandbox series where you just you take your familiar characters, you have a concept, but it's not attached to continuity. So you can kill off characters who you would normally not even think of killing off, or change things around, change power sets, all sorts of things. So of course the Injustice series was did this best. Deceased has done this. Of course, I've been enjoying. Oh gosh, there's another one. Oh, the DC versus Vampires. That's been a lot of fun. So so very cool stuff here. From Marvel, got a couple of cool books here to show you all here. Of course, it wouldn't be appropriate if we were talking about, a Predator movie if we didn't have a Predator comic to talk about. So Marvel got the license for Predator at the same time they got Alien, which was about 3 years ago. But for whatever reason, they delayed the Predator series. Now, finally, we have it here. So looks like this is a 5-issue arc. Don't know if it's going to be like a regular, full issue series, or we're going to get kind of little blocks of mini series. But this is a good start here. Ed Brisson is the writer on here. Kev Walker and Frank Diarmata do the artwork. Really, really good stuff here. Good concept too, because of course, if you're going to do your Predator and your alien kind of stuff, you really want to have like a good human character. to kind of ground everything and keep the plot moving. And that's what this series does. You get a really good human character. This is definitely a kind of a futuristic sort of storyline. We're not doing like any kind of flashbacks or modern day Earth or anything like that. So it's definitely far off future, alien planet sort of thing like that. But really good first issue there. So I'm very happy with it. I'm loving the Alien series that Philip Kennedy Johnson has been doing. So yeah, I've just really been enjoying it because they finished up like a 12 issue arc, and then now they are doing like a new arc or something like that starting up next month. So yeah, definitely want to pick that one up here. For Ghost Rider fans, this is a cool book here. Vengeance is Forever. This is celebrating Ghost Rider's 50th birthday. Can't believe he's 50 years old, but there you go. He's looking good for 50. Let me tell you. Well, the fire there keeps the skin young. This is barely connected to the current book's continuity. You're still kind of dealing with Johnny Blaze, who's kind of like, he's blacking out sometimes. You don't know quite who's in control, if he's in control, if the writer is, and there's kind of a definite disconnect between he and the writer. So Johnny decides to visit a mythical tattoo artist to kind of help him reconnect with the writer, and so that's kind of our impetus for the story. And this is totally a trip down memory lane. So if you're not reading the current Ghost Rider book, but you appreciate his history, want to kind of see some different takes on here, there you go. And of course, it's got tons of variant covers. I had to pick this one up here because it looks so cool. That yeah, that's a great variant right there. So yeah, tons of variants at your local comic book shop. So highly recommend picking that one up for the Ghost Rider fans out there. So definitely cool book there. So Dave says, for Ghost Rider's birthday, will the can? You know what? That's yeah. I mean, we're gonna blow out Ghost. He's gonna blow out the candles. I don't know. I mean, and also like would he just use hellfire to light the candles? And if so, would you want to eat a cake that has touched hellfire? Because I got a feeling it's going to have a nice brimstone aftertaste there. It ain't going to be good. So, all right. A few more Marvel books to show you guys here. Issue 5 of The Punisher. And this has just been a really, really fun take, really great series that Jason Aaron's been doing here. And of course, as you can see here on this front cover, the stakes are a little higher here. We got problems with the resurrected Maria Castle, and Frank is kind of also having his doubts and his, okay, maybe this is not a good deal here with the hand, and maybe rethinking things going on here. So, yeah, a nice turning point issue here, and definite thing pointing to things to come for issue 6, which is going to be a big fight. So, yeah, just really been enjoying Jason Aaron's take on this. And like I said, he's not changing the character whatsoever. This is just, Frank kind of, evolving his mission, so to speak, a little bit here. Next one here, of course, this has been a fun read for the Avengers here. This is issue 59. This is, of course, still dealing with the multiversal Masters of Evil. But as you can see, I'm going to move my hand. We got some Old West stuff going on here. So, yes, we get to meet a Old West version of the Phoenix and Starbrand from another multiverse here. But yeah, so very cool stuff. We kind of get some, possible more recruits into the multiversal Avengers here to kind of take on the multiversal Masters of Evil and Mephisto. So yeah, we're just still. I like how this and the Avengers Forever book have been kind of like just kind of introducing just these different multiversal Avengers here. So it's been kind of fun. It's been a long lead up to a big story here that's coming, but still, I like how it's been leading up. Next, number 3 here for Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, and we're finally finding out who has basically been kind of behind this new conspiracy with Captain America, and what this true significance of his shield is, the true design of his shield, and maybe his original mission was not as pure as he originally thought, and maybe he's not doing what he should have been doing initially. So maybe he shouldn't have been a superhero in the first place. So I don't know. There's some definite questions going on here, but we find out this big bad is known as the Outer Circle, and apparently he's been using their symbol his entire career. So, yeah, some interesting stuff here. So, yeah, again, I just, really been enjoying kind of having two Captain America series right now, and yeah, so it's just been been fun here because you get Captain Steve over in one, Sam in another, and they both have different stories going on here, and Cap's definitely has this kind of conspiracy going on with his entire history. You're seeing a lot of faces from World War II pop up, so yeah, some really cool stuff here. Dave said that. It's nice seeing Starbrand continue into the main MCU. Yeah, like I said, Jason Aaron's really been using Starbrand quite a lot during his run. So yeah, so fans of the Starbrand, and of course he likes using Jane Foster has been in there. Ghost Rider has been a member of the Avengers. Blade has been a member. So yeah, he likes using some characters you wouldn't normally see in an Avengers book. Last but not least, here my one book I'm kind of poo-pooing on this week here. This is issue 2 of Judgment Day. Now, this is the big, storyline that's going on for the summer for Marvel that involves the Avengers, the X-Men, and for the very first time, the Eternals. Because they normally never get involved in the big, storyline stuff here for really anybody. They kind of keep to themselves, as is in the movie. Well, they got this whole thing now where basically the Eternals are kind of broken up into different sects now, and the main sect, who is being run by Druig, basically is saying, you know what, we think that all the stuff the mutants have been doing lately with their whole island nation and preserving life and somewhat not dying, and also terraforming Mars and moving there. Yeah, we don't like all that stuff. We think you're deviants now, so we're going to take you out. And so now you've got other Eternals who are, not agreeing with this. They're in opposition. The Avengers have kind of stuck their foot in and kind of teaming up with the X-Men and, the Eternals who are against Druig and his people. Unfortunately, though, what sounds like a very big, confrontation going on here, and even, Tony and some of the other good Eternals are waking up Avengers Mountain, which is basically a celestial, and trying to see if maybe this can get involved in things. It's kind of boring. That's really the main problem with this storyline, is that there's so much exposition you kind of have to get through, and just a lot of talking going on. And it's like, for a big event series right now, and there have been things that have happened, granted, but it's just not very exciting. Just there have been better events. So I don't know. We'll see how this. We've got a lot more to come with this one. We're only 2 issues in. I know there's a lot of one shots, a lot of tie-in issues. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how things go. But so far, not so good. Let's see here. Dave Manley says Blade is an Avenger was weird. Wearing boy thing like a scarf. Yeah. Basically, we had Man Thing was kind of, I guess, destroyed down to like a very small version of himself. And this version called himself Boy Thing because he was quite tiny. And Blade essentially, wore him kind of like a shoulder parrot or, a scarf in some places. But Boy Thing is still around and Blade is still around. Blade is essentially now kind of the sheriff of the vampire nation. The Avengers decided to, as kind of a bit of a trade-off with Dracula, because Dracula sort of helped out previously. They set up Chernobyl as a vampire nation where you stay here, live peacefully, don't kill anybody, then just we'll be okay. And this guy's going to be keeping an eye on you. So that's how things are for the vampire nation right now in the Marvel universe. But yeah, it's definitely tenuous at best. So. Well, there's my book for this week here. Definitely want to share those with you guys here. Of course, if you all have any other books that you guys are into that I didn't mention here, and you want to tell me about them, please share them. I'm always looking for new things to check out. I finally got on the Something Is Killing the Children train, so I finished the first 2 trades. I'm going to start trade number 3 sometime this weekend. I'm halfway through Once in Future, the first trade on that one. Really liking what I'm reading on that one, because that's another book people have been saying I need to get on. I think another book, my next one I want to start getting into is Berserker. I know I'm several issues behind on that one, not near as much as I was on Something Is Killing the Children, but either way. So yeah, I think that's gonna be the next one I'm gonna start getting into. But I read a lot of books, folks, a lot of books, but That's my favorite pastime of all time. I kind of get through books pretty quickly, or sometimes I can read like 6 or 8 books in a day. So yeah, I enjoy comics. So there you go. I like sharing it with you guys, and I love it when you all share it with me. So yeah, it would share and share alike. That's what I always say. So all right, well, we're going to take a break for just a second here for our sponsors. When we come back, we're talking Prey. So be right back, folks.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
All right, everybody, we're back now, and we're going to be talking about this movie here, Prey, which is exclusively on Hulu. I cannot say enough good things about this flick, folks. Of course, this is the 7th entry into the Predator series, if you count the 2 Aliens versus Predator movies. And frankly, I would like to not count those 2 movies, but that's just my own personal opinion there. But as sequels go, or in this case, this is sort of a prequel, this is a fantastic entry into the series. If you're not familiar with the plot, this takes place in the early 1700s in a Comanche kind of their tribe, their land that's been so far untouched. They seem to be, living peacefully as they are. Unfortunately, a predator does land. This may be the first recorded landing of a predator on Earth, but it's definitely this kind of the earliest moment here. But yeah, so predator touches down, and a young female named Naru, who is played by oh shoot, I literally just had all the names here. Amber Midthunder. Good lord. Played by Amber Midthunder. She is basically kind of, has designs on being a hunter herself. She is very skilled in doing so, and also is very crafty and inventive because, her being smaller in stature than some of the other warriors, she's learned to be a little more inventive, with her hunting skills. Like, for instance, she has a tether around her tomahawk. So when she throws it, she's able to draw it back quickly and then throw it a second time at another target in very quick succession. So that, she uses that numerous times, and kind of, we see kind of later on in the movie, the Predator adopts this a bit himself. But yeah, so, but interesting, Corey, the interesting thing though is that Naru does kind of gets, tossed aside, so to speak, because, she's especially living in a male dominated society. They don't think she's, either ready or even able to be a hunter. Her older brother, who kind of is the dominant hunter, he's the alpha. He even kind of has his doubts, but he knows her ability and her skill. He has some faith and some support in her, but he still thinks that maybe she's not quite ready just yet. But so several different kind of, I guess, encounters, so to speak, some near encounters with the monster and the different hunting, expeditions by, various groups of, Comanche warriors. We get some, different sorts of encounters here. We get, some full-on slaughters here. We get, maybe they get a little bit of the upper hand here. And then, of course, we get to the end of the movie and we get the final one-on-one confrontation between Naru and the Predator. And yeah, let me tell you, that one doesn't disappoint either. Of course, like I said, she's extremely inventive. So she kind of figures out a little bit of how the Predator uses his technology to hunt and to fight, and a little bit how his weaponry works as well. Because this Predator is a little different than the ones we've seen in other movies, where his tech, while still being advanced, is a little lower tech. Like, you still see like the 3 targets, lasers, but they're now individual targets because it's essentially he's kind of sporting like a crossbow sort of thing. So he's still kind of using arrows, using the targeting sort of thing, but he can actually fire 3 independent shots as opposed to like just one blast, like the old, plasma cannon they normally use. We still see the big, wrist blades. but some newer entries. We see a bit of a different version of the net we've seen, a definitely different version of the hunting staff because it can kind of break into a sword. The shield kind of comes back and some tremendous kills in this movie here. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. I definitely got to hand it to the actor who plays the Predator. Hopefully, I'm not massacring his name here. Dan DeAllegro. Dane DeAllegro. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm completely massacring your name, but Dane, you were awesome in this movie. I really enjoyed his movements. He's much more of a feral kind of hunter in this. This Predator is definitely much more raw in his approach to things. So yeah, really kind of just a very definite different character than a lot of the other Predators we have seen. Of course, we've seen some massive super predators. We've seen better hunters than others. And so we've even seen some that kind of turn a little good. Like we've seen the last Predators movie that came out. What was it, 2016? So yeah, we kind of saw some kind of different changes in their hierarchy with how they interact with each other, and maybe kind of gaining some sympathy or respect for the humans. So yeah, some interesting stuff there. So let's get to a couple comments here. Dave Manley saying that Prey is a strong contender for the best Predator movie. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that. I've got to go with the original. You got to start from there. But I also was a big fan of Predators that came out in 2010 that started Adrian Brody. That was, I know it was produced by Robert Rodriguez. I don't think he directed it though. But yeah, I think one of his protege directors did it. But anyway, really enjoyed that movie because that's the one thing I really like about the Predator movies, the best ones, is the thrill of the hunt. I felt that was missing in the second film. The second film was kind of fun, but yeah, they definitely kind of turned up they went all out for a lot of the movie there. And it's kind of disappointing because some of the behind the scenes of the second Predator movie, if things had actually happened how they were going to, that would have been an awesome movie. What originally was planned was that you were still going to have a Predator in, 90s Los Angeles, record heat wave, gang fighting, all that sort of thing like that. The cop was originally going to be played by Patrick Swayze at one point, and you were going to see a return of, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch character kind of midway through the movie to come help out, offer some advice, that sort of thing like that. So, you're originally going to kind of see that sort of team up. And then Schwarzenegger didn't, they weren't giving him enough money, so he bowed out. Patrick Swayze had another project, and then you had like a change of directors. And basically, when you had the change of directors going on there, you had kind of like a bit of a Lethal Weapon sort of reunion because you had Gary Busey in the movie, you had Danny Glover, of course, in the movie. Richard Donner has a very brief cameo in the movie. Of course, he played the police captain in all the Lethal Weapon movies. So he has a little brief cameo in there. And then, of course, the director was like a second AD for the first Lethal Weapon. So it was kind of like a little mini reunion for these guys there. So, and actually, if you want to see kind of a little bit more what the original story was going to be, go back to the old Predator Dark Horse comics, the very first series that came out. I think it was called was it Big Game? Was that storyline? Anyway, that was kind of originally what the story was going to be. Even though in the Predator comics, the cop is actually Dutch's younger brother, Schaefer. And we see Schaefer kind of pop up through several other Predator stories throughout Dark Horse's run. So, yeah, so it's, again, really what could have happened would have been awesome, but I still enjoy Predator 2, but it's definitely not one of my favorite sequels. Craylee Van Est, one of our hosts here of the Cosplay Cafe, has a good question here. She's behind on Predator movies in general, so do we need to see all of them to understand this one? No. If you know, like if you have seen the original movie with Schwarzenegger, you kind of know the concept, what a Predator is. That's about it. There's a lot of Easter eggs that in Prey that kind of point to different movies in the series. There's definitely a lot of them from the original. You see some Easter eggs from Predators, even a good Easter egg from Predator 2. So you see, some fun little things here and there, and little nods to the series. But no, if you basically have seen just the original movie and that's it, cool. You go right on this movie because, of course, this takes place in the 1700s, so this is like a very early sort of thing like that. But no, this is literally kind of a let's put a predator in a completely different setting, a completely different time period, different level of technology, and see what happens. And that's kind of what the fun thing that the comics did that the movies never really got into is like, oh yeah, well, we can put a predator in Siberia, Russia. They hate the cold. How will they handle that? Or let's put them in the old west, or let's put them this. So that's kind of the fun things the comics have been exploring. So there you go. Oh, Crayley asking, do you lose your nerd card now discovering that these are based on actually the movies were original. They were not based on comics. The comics were basically spun off later on. So Dark Horse Comics originally started doing comic books in kind of the late 80s, early 90s, but they got the license. They also got the license for Aliens, which I highly recommend checking out some of those Aliens comics from Dark Horse as well. Marvel now finally has the license for both Alien and Predator. And of course, like I showed earlier, Predator's first issue finally came out. So no, but the movies was an original story. They just did comics later. They also did comics for Terminator. RoboCop had some comics for a while from Dark Horse. So there you go. So it Crayley feels better. Not a problem. Glad to help. So yeah, no, like I said, Dark Horse was really big in trying to get a lot of properties that weren't adapted in comics and basically just do further stories. They weren't considered canon or anything like that. It was just let's just do more Terminator stories. Let's do some more Predator stories, whatever else. So that's kind of what Prey really feels like to me. Is definitely kind of nod those old Dark Horse books of just taking the Predators, putting it in a different setting, seeing what happens. So yeah, and another kind of cool thing too is the mask for the Predator. Very different in this movie. It's not like a metal forged mask like you normally see. This looks like it almost was maybe taken off of something. It's like it's made out of bone. And if you've actually seen Predators, the Adrian Brody movie, it was taken off of River Ghost. So kind of a creature that originally was supposed to have a bigger presence in the movie. It kind of got relegated more towards the end of the movie. They were kind of the more slightly humanoid alien sort of creatures that maybe the Predators were also hunting on this reserve planet. So, but yeah, they were just kind of just other creatures that were on there. They were, basically they were fighting the humans, they were fighting the Predators, they were just fighting everybody. But yeah, they had a very cool look there. So yeah, the Predator took that particular mask off of it. So there you go. Let's see here. Dave's got a comment saying that Hatchet tether practicing remind of Shang-Chi's sister, Xialing, using her rope dart. Yeah, that was kind of reminiscent of that. Yeah, good point. But yeah, that's the cool thing though, is that you get to see some really inventive fighting. Of course, that was one fun thing with the original Predator was that Schwarzenegger was kind of like laying all the booby traps and stuff like that. And Naru does a very similar kind of concept where she's got booby traps as well. And she's, laying for this thing to try to finally kill it. And so, of course, it's a heck of a confrontation. And I would also recommend paying attention to the closing credits of the movie too, because while they don't have any kind of like, mid-credit scene, it's done in traditional indigenous art form. So kind of like the old, kind of their kind of, hieroglyphic sort of, versions. But it kind of tells the story of the movie and then maybe tells the story kind of what happens afterwards. Because if you remember, Predators don't like to leave behind things. They like to clean up their messes. They don't want to leave behind evidence. They don't want to leave their technology laying about so other people can develop it and whatever else. And, well, Naru walks off with a head and with a gun. And, of course, the gun's not the Predators, but it's still a trophy. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe Dan Trachtenberg, who is the director of this movie, has said the studio was extremely pleased with the reception. I think it was like the #1 streaming movie on Hulu ever. And, like that weekend, it was like really high in the streaming charts. So yeah, this movie did very well. Frankly, it should have been released in theaters because it was so well received. Frankly, I mean, to me, it was such a great concept to, take a familiar, franchise, but just put it in a different setting. We didn't need, a modern day, army guys running around, or like the more recent one, military prisoners running around, sort of thing like that. It's like we needed something different, just a little different take on it, and this was just perfect. So yeah, just a good storyline, good performances, and another cool thing too. If you haven't noticed this on Hulu, there is a Comanche dub, and all the actors did actually come back and re-record their voices, and apparently too, like they like in the scripting and the writing and the performances, they picked kind of like words that essentially would kind of flow well together in either English or Comanche. So basically, it doesn't kind of look like the old Chopsaki films from like the '60s, where like the dub looks really bad and really noticeable difference. So it's not a distraction basically. So I highly recommend checking that out. Because when Dan Trachtenberg had the idea for this film, he originally pitched it where it was kind of very much like Apocalypto was going to be in Comanche with English subtitles. That's it. Deal with it, folks. You're gonna have to read this Predator movie. But the studio decided, no, maybe not. Let's do this. So that's kind of like, but still, it's he gets to kind of have his vision that he originally wanted to have, for the film, but there was a slight compromise. So this is a good lesson in compromise here, kids. If you want to be a filmmaker, you still get to have your vision, but it's not exactly the way you want it to. But it's still available there. So when I watched the film a second time, I did watch it in Comanche with subtitles, and it's really cool. It's definitely, like I say, I was really glad the actors came back. And did their own dubs for their voices. So yeah, that definitely helps out, makes a difference. But it didn't like take away or really add anything to the experience for me. But I think people who, maybe, that is part of their heritage, you may really appreciate that. So there you go. Yeah, I really enjoy this. Of course, the kind of some of the stories behind, the making of and how this concept came about is one of my favorites, of course, the director who is, an American director, when he, was a kid and watched the original '87 Predator, one of the scenes we remember in the movie is the tracker Billy kind of making his last stand. We're like, okay, he's stripped off of his gear, he's got his big machete, he's drawn his line in the sand, he's ready to fight, and then cuts away, and then we hear him scream. It's like, what? All that hype, all that one of the our favorite badass characters in the movie, and we don't get to see him fight. So that was Dan's big complaint the whole movie. As a kid, I always kind of thought about that. And so even there was some, even, talking about like some older kids, like, oh no, they actually did a scene where they, showed him, fighting, blah, blah, blah. Of course, that's a lie. They didn't show that. But either way, so that's kind of what the inspiration was for him. It's like, he always wanted to see that fight scene, how that was going to play out. And so that was kind of the spiritual successor for what Prey became. So there you go. Let's see here. Crayley saying, I see how not making you have to read the whole film would be more accessible for lots of audience members, but it's really cool. They did so much for Comanche later. Yeah, I'd say it would have definitely been a different experience for a Predator movie to have subtitles on there. But again, I'm, call me weird, but I like kind of, giving an old, favorite a new coat of paint, just freshening it up a little bit here. So that would have been a more of extreme measure, I agree, but nonetheless, again, this is a fantastic entry. This is definitely going into my favorite sequels here. Whether or not it's surpasses the original or any other sequels, that's definitely up to you guys here. It's all it's all opinion here. But yeah, again, though, I really thoroughly enjoy this one here. Again, like I said, lots of funny Easter eggs here. A couple of great, we don't get to the chopper reference in here because that wouldn't make sense. But we do definitely get a couple of lines from the original in here. We get to see, of course, like I said, the mask is a reference to Predators. The flintlock pistol that she ends up with at the end of the movie here, that's a nod to Predator 2. So the flintlock gun that Danny Glover gets at the end of the movie as his prize. There you go. Yeah. Check out the inscription there, folks. But yeah, either way, I just really thoroughly enjoyed this one. Some fantastic kills, great fight scenes here. Of course, like I said, you see some, nice relationship between the brother and the sister, and of course, some he gets to have his great moments before his bit of sacrifice because you we know it's coming. You got to take out the alpha before the new contender here comes up here, and she has her moment in the sun as well. So yeah, again, like I said, just really, really thoroughly enjoy this movie. Can't say enough good things about it. So yeah, I'd like to see where we go from here. Of course, like I said, the studio was really surprised at how well this was received. It's been just getting glowing reviews from fans, from people who aren't deep fans of Predators, but they like movies, whatever else. So, everybody's enjoying this. Everybody's having a good time with it. So, will we see some more, down the line that are kind of, in different settings? Will we get a direct sequel to this one? I don't know. I mean, we kind of could get a direct sequel, but I don't know how much you could extend that to, a whole other film. We basically, you almost gonna have like one extra scene, maybe a couple extra scenes. So, yeah, but either way, definitely worth checking this out. So, Crayley, you're definitely gonna watch it. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's a short movie too. It's like less than 2 hours. So, yeah, it goes by pretty quick. So, yeah, highly recommend checking out. Nice girl power kind of movie too here because she basically she has a lot of doubters and she shows them all. So, yeah. So our Nara is a badass, and of course, dog lovers out there. She has a pet dog. It's kind of a neat story on this one too. I think the dog's name's like Sunny or Sunny or something like that. But it's like a Carolina hound or something, or Carolina wild dog, but basically kind of very similar to the American Dingo kind of wild dogs that indigenous people would normally have. Because they, had good relationships with them. They made good hunting dogs, good trackers and whatnot. So the fun thing about this particular dog for the movie is that they adopted this dog like literally 2 months before filming, and it wasn't like a movie dog or anything like that. So they just picked a really good dog. She had a good rapport with her co-star and Amber Midthunder. Amber Midthunder did say the dog was a little bit extra in a good way, but she sometimes can be a hot mess. So dog lovers out there, you get some love here too because we got some puppy love going on here. All right, but yeah, I just can't recommend this movie enough. If you haven't checked it out, do so. If you have, I recommend going back and checking out in Comanche. That's just for fun, because it's like I said, just a different a different experience here. And Crayley says you do love dogs, and don't I don't want to spoil anything, but I know sometimes animal lovers we'd be turned off from the movie if there's something bad happens to animals. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil anything else, but animal lovers, don't worry. Yeah, I remember there was a movie with Channing Tatum that came out earlier in the year that had like a dog in or something like that. And literally like one of the trailers I saw was like, there was a voice at the end of the movie that says, the dog does not die at the end of this movie. Like, it's 2020, when this, or maybe 21 when this came out. It's like, you gotta kind of tell folks like, hey, you're going to put a tearjerker movie about a dog. You better not freaking kill this dog. Oh God. So yeah, I didn't see the movie, but that just struck me funny. It's like, okay, I guess you gotta, to reassure the folks, put a little more butts in seats. Like, okay, we're not killing off the dog in this movie. So maybe Prey should have told us the same thing too. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap up here, folks. But yeah, again, check out Prey. Definitely got to watch that one. A lot of fun. And of course, again, like I said about the comics, I always enjoy sharing new books with you guys. So share your books with me. Let me know what you guys are reading. What you enjoy. It doesn't even have to be a new book. If it's something that's older, that you're just now discovering. Doesn't matter. Sharing the love. That's what we do in the Fanatic Forum here. So we love our comics, our movies, TV, wrestling, all our good nerdy stuff here. So you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. Stay